Here we go. Melanie, you're going to have to accept this. So you have 30 seconds starting now to accept this bad boy. And then one by one, I pull Tracy in next, and then Jorge in next. There we go. Nice. Melody's in, and I could hear you. All right. Tracy, let's pull you in. We'll ask her. Loading her. And then last, and certainly least, just kidding, Jorge Rodriguez, you're in. All right. As soon as Jorge's in, we will begin. Look, your clarity looks awesome. Very nice. It's exciting. Jorge's here. We are going to start with our BlabberMouth intro, which, of course, was created by the great Jorge Rodriguez.
You are a blabbermouth! Ladies and gentlemen, I do not say blah, blah, blah.
All right. I love it. I don't care how many times I hear that. I think it's fantastic. Every time I hear it. So,
it's a little circle of awesome, right?
yes.
Bubble of awesome. Yeah. Bubble of awesome.
Going and going. All right. I do not want to waste any time tonight, folks. Very excited about our third episode of BlabberMouths 101, the resource that we are creating for phys ed and health teachers all over the world. So first, let's start with Melanie. You want to tell us a little bit about yourself, and then we'll get to what we're talking about tonight.
Absolutely. My name is Melanie Levenberg, and I live in Vancouver, British Columbia. I am a physical education teacher by training, and I now teach dance in schools and to teachers who want to learn about how to teach dance all over the world. But I have no technical training and no background in dance, and that's how I always start all of my PE workshops.
I love that. Absolutely. Very cool. So it makes people like myself think that there's a chance.
Exactly.
Tracy, tell us about yourself, please.
Hi, everyone. I am from St. Albert, Alberta, just one province over from Melanie. And I am also a phys ed teacher. And I, too, have a similar background playing sports and athletics, and then having no formal dance background as well. And am now a master trainer in dance play and teaching dance for understanding. So Melanie's taken me a long way, but it was an easy sell for this for the way that she teaches dance. It was an easy sell. I was on board right away. Best way I've ever taught dance in my 23 years of being an educator now.
That is fantastic. So you're both from Canada, correct?
Yes.
Are you Tragically Hip fans?
Yes. I'm not.
I just started listening. Nothing like a guy dying to make you start listening to his music. So we won't go too much into there. And last, certainly not least, the man who needs no introduction, Jorge Rodriguez. So Jorge, tell us real quick about yourself.
Yeah, I'm a physical education teacher from Houston, Texas, and I also have no formal dance training. And I'm here to learn, so I'm very interested in the teaching dance for understanding method, and I'm here to learn from you guys.
All right, very, very cool. Let's dive right into this. In the future, Jorge will be interviewing you ladies, getting all the background stories and the personal connections of where'd you come from, growing up, what made you get into dance, all that. But I'm here for the hard facts and figures. I want to know, how do I implement TDFU? I'm not going to lie. My dance unit's kind of weak. I use a lot of videos from YouTube. I use a lot of creativity where they can bring in other implements and objects to use. But I don't really know how to dance myself. I know a little bit about rhythm, a little bit about tempo, but it's very difficult for me. So I want to learn teaching dance for understanding. I want to start it. Tell me, what do I need to know? We have an hour starting now. So Tracy, why don't you go first? You tell us a little bit about, I'm at an elementary, Jorge's elementary. We could go middle and high school as well. But what do I need to know? And if you want to pass this to Melanie, that's fine as well. What do I need to know before I start to get prepared? And then we'll get into once the units begin. So what should I do to prepare myself?
So for me, in learning this and learning what teaching dance for understanding is all about, the first thing is you got to get kids excited about dance. And so through learning about what dance play is, it's a totally different style of dance where kids learn simple moves and in a playful way. So it's really a mix of styles and getting kids excited about like the top 40 and getting them moving in a way that is not complicated. And so I know we try to overcomplicate sometimes what dance is, or we teach it without the music. And I don't know how kids can get excited about something like that, or me teaching it. So I used to love the dance unit. Don't get me wrong. Like before, when I wasn't doing a teaching dance for understanding approach, I used to love it. I used to do line dancing. But I think after years and years of doing that and the kids seeing the same things over and over again, there was nothing new. Folk dance, circle dances, social dance, line dance. That's what I knew and I did. But now that I know this different technique where we have a playful approach the very first lesson, we get kids into the gym, get them really excited about dance by doing simple moves to songs that they love. And once you get them excited in the first lesson, then you can go from there and build on that. And I'll let Melanie talk more about the building on that. But that's kind of the first when they walk in.
All right, so we know about our first lesson. They're coming in. We have the newest song, the newest craze, whatever's out. The kids are psyched up. Is there anything I need to know before that? Any prep I have to do beforehand? Or is it literally just get some music ready that the kids are really going to want to move to, and let's start teaching some easy moves?
I think one of the biggest things to know is, where does dance fit into your curriculum? How is it being brought into your class? Are you teaching the are you addressing the standards for dance? Are you bringing dance into your PE class? Because there's two different approaches. It's like different topics. You could have a full someone who teaches just dance and does that for a whole year. I know that some schools have that luxury. Some schools it's a phys ed teacher's responsibility to teach dance. And I always like to reinforce, what is the context of the dance unit? Is it bringing dance as another way for students to be active in PE and giving them those multiple, a variety of different movements and experiences with physical activity in a different context? So I like to have teachers think about that, and then to look at what the standards are. Because I think a lot of people are so worried about teaching dance because they think somewhere in their brain there's this subconscious thought that by the time the students are done with you teaching them their dance unit, that they're supposed to pass the Royal Academy of Dance standards for ballet and jazz and tap. And so the pressure that comes to teachers is that they're supposed to be these amazing dancers and teach these students these elaborate, complicated skills. And the thing that kind of took me off of the edge when I first started diving into my curriculum and looking at what is it I'm supposed to be teaching, I saw how simple it was, and that I was making it way more complicated just through my own perceptions of what dance is, just from what media tells us dance is supposed to be.
I love that. I absolutely love that. I know Jorge's all excited to hear the word standards in there and outcomes. because we do that. We make dance way more complicated. When you look at the grade level outcomes, they're really not that complicated for us. You talk about a beat, you talk about a rhythm. It's not that hard. Jorge, any thoughts or follow-ups we have for those?
Well, I had a quick question. So you talked about the simple movements, and so I think TDFU does that really well with games. You teach games right off the bat. So I would imagine that TDFU has kind of the same approach. So what are some of those simple movements that you would hit the kids with, like right off the bat?
I wish you could see a video, and you actually can.
Actually, you know what? I have this.
There's some free videos for dance play online, and so
I don't know if people can see that link. I just posted a link that shows a dance play sampler of what videos.
We will put those in the show notes for everybody as well, because this is going to go right on the shared phys drive. They'll go to BlabberMouths 101. They'll click on TDFU 101. There'll be a document of all links on there as well, of anything that you want to drop in there, which would be cool as well. So we'll put that in there.
Awesome.
Like, I think the biggest thing is that kids are moving in ways that help them in other areas. And so there's fundamental movement skills. So they're hopping and leaping and skipping and jumping and all of those things. But then there's much more to it. So interaction. So while they're skipping, they're high-fiving. And so there are songs that Melanie has choreographed that I use with kids. And so that's used in the first lesson to get them really pumped and excited. So that's awesome that you're that link, Melanie, because then people can see what that looks like.
Totally. And so from what we do, so there's an approach so the first phase of TD is bringing dance as a playful experience. And when you look at what teaching games did for sport, is that they took away the rules of what a sport was supposed to look like, or games, right? So it's like, instead of 2 basketball nets and 1 ball and teams of 5, it's like, 8 nets and 4 teams and shoot on 2 and protect, or shoot on 6, protect 2, more things. So I looked at that approach in sport, and I loved it. And I looked at my dance unit, and I was like, why is it that in dance I'm so traditional? I'm following all these rules, which is having all the students stand in lines, having all the students watch the teacher and follow choreography. And all of my choreography had this like sequence and pattern that was actually quite complicated. It stressed me out. Like, there was nothing that was more stressful for me as a teacher than trying to remember the choreography and even understand what these notes were, like right, left, 2, pump twice, jab 3, step 2, left, right, double jab. And I was just like, is this actually necessary? Like, yes, students have to learn sequences in the standards. That's something in the outcomes. That's something that they have to learn, is choreography sequencing. But does it have to be 64 movements in a song, or can it be 4 movements in a song? And so in the first parts, what we're doing with simple movement is that we're taking away the number of movements that they have to remember in a sequence. So a song might only have like 6 moves. It might only have 4 movements. And then those movements are coached by the teacher according to the purpose of that movement, and also to the grade level that you're teaching. So, grades 1, 2, 3, you're looking at really coaching them to explore their body, to explore space, to explore different levels. And then when you're going into, grades 4, 5, 6, you're looking at more like relationships between different groups, and then combining the elements and having students be able to understand and use those elements in different ways, in more just complex ways. So that's what simplicity means for us, is that you take away the complexity of and how much choreography is taught in a period of time.
So that first part where you're just incorporating real simple movements to some music, maybe to a beat, that would be kind of like the dance appreciation part of games appreciation for teaching games for understanding. Yeah,
it's appreciation, and it's like it kind of fuses because we threw in a term called dance as a playful experience. Mm-hmm. So that we have that idea that a teacher comes at it with the mentality that students are going to play with movement, and their job is to coach the play, coach the fact that there are no rules, that there's no right or wrong. Because one of the biggest inhibitors for a student to participate, we talked about what teachers were worried about. What students are worried about is getting it wrong. They're worried about left foot, right foot. So we wanted it to be like, what if you were just playing? Like, when you're playing on the playground, there are no rules. There's no right way of going up the slide and sliding down, and there are no correct ways of, creating a game with your friends. So can we have that playful mentality? So it's a fusion of dance as a playful experience into that dance appreciation, because as they're experiencing it, they're starting to gain that appreciation. And then we actually dive into that appreciation with more in-depth looks at different elements of dance and the backgrounds of different dance genres.
All right, so when they walk in and you have the music blaring right away, or do we wait? And then are you over the loudspeaker saying, all right, we're going to hop? And then you just kind of let them just straight up hop, right? Or jump or leap or whatever it is, with the K1 or 2s. You're not even talking about anything difficult, just music on, move around?
Totally. So I think we should probably, before we jump into like what's happening in the preparation phase, we'll talk about picking the songs that you want to do. So like Tracy was saying, like with the Dance Play program, on the side of all of this TDFU just stuff, we have a like choreography that is all preset for teachers that is developed on fundamental movement skills. And if teachers are interested in getting access to that choreography, we share some of it for free on our website. And then if people really want all of it, we've got like over 200 songs, they can come to a training and get access to it. So that's like for teachers who are looking for, I don't want to create it myself, just show me exactly what to do, exactly what to say, the words to say, what transitions, just give it all to me and it's simple. But as a teacher, any educator can pick any song and kind of mark it out. Songs have especially top 40 songs, have a very obvious verse chorus. So it's like with a verse, you put one move, and then with the chorus, you put another move or a combination of moves. And then you just you pick movements that you're supposed to be teaching your students, and those movements come from the outcomes. You look at them. It literally says it in the standards for like grades 1. It says they're going to learn how to bend, twist, stretch, and swing. So one of those moves will be like, we're just going to do bending, different kind of bending for the entire verse. And then the teacher you're teaching choreography. You're saying, hey, everyone, the move is this. You're going to do different bending, but it's not, we're bending left, we're bending right, we're bending left twice, we're bending right, we're bending, like it's not so like structured,
strict.
I guess. Yeah.
Nice. And that brings up a good question for me. What is the difference between curling and twisting? Twisting, I'm going through 2 planes. Curling, I'm only going through 1. Is that what's going on there?
I was thinking like curling, like the rock and the...
We're Canadian.
Because you're from Canada. If you were from
Like,
Minnesota or Canada, that's what you would think when I said curling. I always ran into that one trying to check that out. All right.
Curl.
All right, so we're going to the whatever. I'm sure Jorge knows the terminology, but I'm blanking right now. All right, so they're coming in. We have the music. We either went to one of your trainings, signed up, or we got some of your free stuff that's going on there. We're ready to go. The kids came in. They're moving around. They're doing all the locomotor movements we want. They're bending, twirling.
Actually, you know what? Before they're even dancing, we always start with setting the tone for play. So one of the most important things that we do before we even hit play on the music, students come in, we have them sit down, and we have two things that we do. One is we teach them that in our class, in the dance unit, they only have 3 rules that they have to follow. And those 3 rules are be positive. Instead of saying, I can't do it, this is too hard, switch it to say, you know what, I'll try. As you're doing it, you're saying, I can do it. The second rule is that they're not allowed to have fun in our class. We don't want any kid to have fun because you can't have fun. We want them to be fun. We want them to be the most fun version of themselves. And then the third rule is that they have to be themselves. So every time we teach them a dance move, they have to take that dance move and understand the idea of it. But the way that they're expressing the idea of that movement, as long as it's in line with the big idea, the way that they're doing it should look different than the person that's beside them. So the more different they look in the class than the instructor, the better it is. So there's no right foot, there's no left foot. So we set the 3 rules of play: be positive, be fun, be yourself. And that's what they have to do. I say, I don't care about it's not about the dance. It's about you practicing these 3 rules. And then the second thing that we do is that we have them claim their bubble of awesome. So if you've done other webinars with me or workshops, you would know. So the students have to claim the space all around their body where they get to be the most awesome version of themselves. And we teach them that I can't go up to them and fill up their bubble full of awesomeness. It's their job to do that themselves. So every time they do a dance move that's different, every time they move with confidence, every time they show us their style, they're filling up their bubble full of their own awesomeness. And that's their job.
I love it. So right away, you're fighting the fixed mindset by telling about the first part. And then I don't know, pick this up somewhere yet. If they say I can't, you have to add yet on the end. And then that's the same kind of thing where now you're focusing on the journey. And I really like how it's process versus product. That seems to be so many of our issues we talk about is we want to end up looking like something. but it's really not about that. It's about the whole journey to get wherever we are getting that we should be focusing on. Jorge, anything to add?
No, I just like the fact, I love the notion of the bubble of awesomeness and like how you make it very student centered. So you kind of take away all the social kind of anxiety because now you're just focusing on yourself. And that's what I really like about that approach and making the kids, understand that it's about, like what Justin said, it's about the journey. So you might be here now, but if you are comfortable with yourself and expressing yourself in this way and dancing and moving, then you can go a long way in that journey. So I really like that student-centered approach. It's really cool.
And it's about celebrating each person's uniqueness or each child's uniqueness. And that's the whole idea around be yourself and then claiming your bubble of awesome. That's why I think kids, they buy into it right away. Because like Mel said, that's introduced right away. And then it sets the tone for the rest of the class.
So do you see like an age group or a grade level that kind of has a little bit more resistance to that, or a population?
I worked with them all.
Yeah, because I'm thinking about my fifth graders. I'm thinking about my fifth graders who don't really enjoy dancing. And a while back, I did a cooperative learning dance with Jigsaw, and it was awesome because it was all about them. They created it, and it was awesome. And I had a really high level of engagement. And at the end, everybody was cheering for each other, and everybody was really happy about the whole performance. But initially, and I've been a teacher for 10 years, and initially I've struggled with dance, and I think part of it is because I'm not comfortable with it myself. And then that kind of I kind of reflect that on the kids, and then the kids aren't comfortable with it, and then it's just a big mess. So do you see like an age group or a grade level kind of resisting it?
Like for us with the way that we go into schools and the way that we teach teachers how to work with students, our introduction and setup is so powerful that most of the time up into grade 5 and 6, you're okay with like the introduction and then them jumping into the dance moves. With the grades, 5, 6, 7, and 8, there is going to be a little bit more of that resistance. And what we found is that they actually like a little in the beginning when we're doing the playful experience that they like more sequences and combos because they kind of like feeling like they're learning a dance that's challenging. And they also really need music to be the most relevant thing ever. So we can never keep up with what is relevant. We're always asking teachers, please send us this, like as soon as you get a request and they're just like, I don't know what crump 1, 2, 3 is, but all of my students are asking me for it. We're like, send it to us, we'll choreograph and we'll pop it out there because we're always looking for the most relevant songs to help teachers get the students on board. Like Tracy was saying, it needs to be relevant for them to be pumped up about it. Because I guarantee you that, like the last time I was in school in June, I just put Drake on and, everyone just started dancing. So it's a lot easier to go with that than to put, a honky tonk or whatever. It doesn't matter. I'm always knocking country, and I work with Tracy, who's from Alberta. Yeah. But it's just like a song that they don't know, and there's just more resistance for them jumping on board than to pick something that they really enjoy. So that transition age group is definitely give them something that's a little bit more challenging in terms of sequences and combos, and do it to music that they really love.
Yeah, and the thing is, I worked with like grade 7, 8, 9s all together in the gym, 75 kids, and the most reluctant kids actually buy in later. And it's hilarious to see because at first these kids will be like standing by the stage, and then soon enough, like they're actually doing stuff. And as soon as I put on Justin Bieber, of course they're like, what? And then all of a sudden, all the junior high boys are singing. So it does. I think when, as a teacher, and I know Jorge, what you're talking about, it's not easy if you're not comfortable with dance, but like you always obviously got your kids to that place, that they loved it. And so you did that with passion and energy. And when you bring that as a teacher, you just can't go wrong. Like if you're silly and you're bringing the energy and passion and you're learning alongside with them, they usually will jump on board. And even the most reluctant ones seem to love the fact that we're using songs that are, relevant, like My House by Flo Rida, like those kind of things, of course, with older students, not the younger, but.
But that makes perfect sense for a couple reasons. I mean, first, cool music, or what the kids think is cool. I'm officially old because there's almost nothing out there now that I like. So, but you don't want to look like you don't like cool music, would be first. Second, you kind of know a little bit of the lyrics already if they're young and have listened to it over and over again. And it makes it a little easier to move when you know when the pauses are coming. You know which beats are emphasized through the words. You don't even have to pay attention to the music part. You know what he or she is going to say. And I think it's funny when I watch Ben Perillo do his dance videos. You can tell he knows the songs inside and out by the words, and he puts the movements to that a lot of times, not even paying attention to the beat. And sometimes I'll be like, hold on, that doesn't make sense. But anyway.
I think the other thing, just to mention, and maybe Melanie said this already, but during the first lesson, when they're doing the dances in the first lesson, the playful experience, they are not necessarily in lines. They're scattered, and then soon enough, when we do these dances, it is actually in a 360-degree way. So there's not a back row staring at a front row. And I know when we do line dances and things like that, there's always somebody staring at you if you're in the front row. And kids who are reluctant will go to the back, and you have to like drag them to the front. So in this case, it's movement all over the space. It is 360 degree. They're looking at this wall, they're dancing in all different directions, front, back, middle, side. And that's, I think, why it's a lot easier for kids who are reluctant, because nobody's really looking at them.
All right, so we came in, we turned on tunes everybody loves. We did some locomotor movements depending on the age level, maybe some quick 1-2s that they know. Now, where do I go from here? So
first lesson is give them that experience. We would focus an entire lesson. We're assuming like a 5 or 6 lesson unit here. I would spend an entire class on showing them different dances. I'm the instructor, I'm leading the group. I would do a Bollywood song, I would do a hip hop song, I would do a tango song, I would do an African song, because my goal in that first lesson is to give them a variety of different styles of music and experiences with different genres of dance, so that they can then become interested and curious to explore more throughout the rest of my lesson plans. So,
all right, but what happens if I'm the teacher who doesn't know Bollywood? I don't know hip hop. I'm not a huge dancer. What do I do in those cases?
Find resources. There's lots of resources online. Like I said, like the dance play program is designed to give teachers all of these resources. So, there's free resources, there's teacher resources, and there's lots of things that are already created for them in all of these areas. So you only need about 6 songs, not even. You can do 5 songs, you can do 4 songs, and that'll be fine as your introduction. And then you dive into the lesson of it, where you step away as the instructor and you start now facilitating them to take over. The one thing we want to really kind of address is that when I looked at the beginning of my career at teaching dance, what I was taught and what I found in all dance resources is that it's kind of what you're saying. It's like, okay, so the students come into the gym and I don't want to teach them anything, so I don't want to freak them out. So I'm just going to play classical music and I'm just going to tell them that they can do whatever they want, just whatever, you could be a butterfly and just go do your thing. And that's like, it's creative exploration, it's creative movement. But what we're doing in that moment is that we're assuming that students have certain things, which is like a movement vocabulary, the ability to listen to music and actually connect to it, the ability to interpret the style of music or the beat, and then create a movement in the moment that expresses how they feel about the music or how they want to move to it, which is a really complex skill. And I always say the equivalent to this in an English class is like asking a student who's only been taught the letters ABC to write a paragraph on how they feel. It's when we jump into creative exploration, we're just shoving students who might not have all the skills and experiences in order to be successful at it. So we're putting in more resistance to dance, as opposed to guiding them through it with different experiences that would then make them excited about dance.
That makes perfect sense. It's too much. We're asking them too much there, is basically what you're saying.
Teachers?
So we have to scale. We got to scale. We have to scale that all the way back and start at the beginning.
I think teachers need to take kind of like a look at themselves and say, like, it seems like it's a lot easier to just put music on and say, hey, show me bending, show me twisting. But I think teachers need to take responsibility for saying, hey, we're doing this with purpose. The movements that we're doing is going to have purpose. I want to teach you about bending. I want to teach you about leaping. I'm excited to teach you about zigzag pathways. And so I'm going to teach you 4 songs, and I'm going to lead it. You're going to follow, and all you have to do right now is follow me, and in a playful way, explore these movements. But you're doing what I'm saying. And then the next 3 lessons are going to be designed to develop that dance appreciation even more by adding in some knowledge and adding in some background and having them understand the music better. And then also developing connections to themselves and to other people, to the music. And then we're going to jump into creative exploration. So there's a lot of activities that we can do that have, the intention of building the ABCs, which I call the attitudes, the background knowledge, and the connections before they go into creative exploration.
All right, Jorge, any follow-up questions for this?
No, I mean, that sounds fantastic. I think you just laid it out perfectly. I think that was great.
All right. Are there any steps I need to go through after this? Where are we at? Are we at day 2 of the unit? Let's say we're all basing on 5 and 6. Was that day 2? Or are we still day 1.5? What's going on
day
there?
1, you're good. Like you've come in as a teacher. You're like, I'm going to teach you, 4 different songs from around the world. The moves are going to be simple based on the grade level that I'm teaching. I'm going to select movements or pick songs that have movements that address my, standards and outcomes. And then the second one is furthering that dance appreciation, where we provide them with a different, we give them the opportunity to assess and analyze and observe and experience a specific dance genre or a movement or a fundamental movement skill. So this is where they get to go in depth and learn more to get the foundations that they'll need to create movement later on.
All right, so take me to day 3. What's going on day 3? So day 2, we picked whatever genre or whatever dance movement, whatever locomotor movement we want to delve into. Day 3, what am I doing for my students?
Trace, you want to take this on? Do you want to talk a bit about the lessons that we do with dance appreciation?
Yeah, if they want to, if they don't mind, if you want to hear about the lessons, I have them. I want
to learn everything. I am at level 0, so I know nothing. Right now, I feel kind of like the music's on. I'm trying to be a butterfly. So anything you want to hit me up, is
you
great.
can still do that, Justin. We would love to see that.
I'll start with one of my favorite. You can do the Venn diagram one, the African versus hip hop. Okay,
I love that.
So one of my favorite activities is I have students, and we're looking here even like at older grades, like grades 4 to 8. You can have them watch 2 videos. Have them watch a hip hop video. Have them watch a Bhangra video. And so again, what videos are good? You can go on YouTube. I love World of Dance Final Championships. And again, I can share those links because everyone is dressed appropriately. And usually it's like really epic, awesome performances. So yeah, World of Dance Final Championships. And you get those on YouTube. So you have the students watch final dance performances. And then you have them like assess or analyze or identify in those performances something that will be linked to your curriculum. So if I'm in a PE program and I'm bringing dance in, I might want them to assess how is the fundamental movement skill jumping used in hip hop dance versus Bhangra dance. And so then the students have to be like, in this genre, in hip hop, they dance, they do one-footed, they leap with 1 foot and then they land, but they balance. And then in Bhangra, they do a lot more hopping, just like they do the analysis of the 2 different kinds of jumps. If I have a dance focus, I could say which elements of dance are being used. And so there's the elements that are used I'm assuming this is the States, all over the world, they're very different. In Canada, we call it like body, energy, space, time, and relationship. In the States, it's body, action, space, time, and energy. So it's just different ways of organizing the same stuff, which pretty much means how am I moving my body? How am I moving through space? What's the energy that I'm putting into the movements? Things like that. So you could have a student analyze what are the different energies that are used in hip hop dance and Bhangra dance. How are they similar and how are they different? So just doing kind of that video analysis and movement analysis from there.
Yeah, and talk about depth of knowledge, and comparing and contrasting. We're digging in deep there, which is fantastic. And we're looking at the affective a little bit, which Jorge loves. He loves it. All right, Tracy, you have some kind of Venn diagram you're going to talk
Yes,
about?
I actually have it. Do you want me to show them?
Sure.
Okay, so I have it in front of me. I will show it to you. Can you see that?
Yep.
All right.
Okay.
See the hip-hop? Yep, yes, I can.
Okay, so you can see there's two styles of dance that we first kind of dive into with kids, and we have them get into groups, and we have them learn about both styles. About we could this case, when I did this, I've done this in schools where I've given them some background knowledge on hip hop, some background knowledge on African, and then they read a few little things on it, and then they're given little sheets of paper with different movements on them. And so they take those movements, and based on the little background sheets that they just read or that we talked about maybe, then they take those movements and they put them in the Venn diagram. And of course, the movements that go under hip hop, the movements that go under African, and then the movements that they think are similar to both. And then once they've separated them, we make sure they have the correct movements in the correct location. Then we take those middle movements and we actually have them moving to the music. So I put on hip hop music, and there are, in my case, that the cards that I use, there are 4 similar movements to hip hop and African. So for example, I put on the music for hip hop and I have them chest pump. And so they show a chest pump. And because they've learned a little bit about the culture of hip hop and the style of music is different, they take that move and they move around the space, but it's going to look different than when I put on African music and then I have them chest pump. And so we talk about the fact that African style is more low to the ground. Hip hop style is, showing your personality and confidence. And so each of the moves that they do that are similar to both cultures, even though they're the same exact move, like stomp, it will look very different in hip hop than it would in African. So they can appreciate the style and the genre of music, even though they're doing the same moves.
Jorge, let me see the chest pump. Go.
I don't even know what it would. I wouldn't even know how to start.
You know what? We're
Okay,
gonna
there you go.
there you go.
And then you have to do some of them like, yeah,
Nice.
that's the hip hop one.
What about the African one?
It's kind of bigger, I think. I don't know.
Can you do the African one?
Yeah,
or do the hip hop
yeah.
one?
The kids put their
Nice.
hands out usually with the African.
Yeah, 'cause I'm not angry. It'd be hard for me to put the scowl on. All right. So this is fantastic. I mean, now we have dances from around the world. We're hitting up culture. It's fantastic. We're diving deep into the depth of knowledge, Bloom's taxonomy, everything. From the whole education standpoint, my mind is very excited here. So we're on day 4. Day 1, we came in, we got the appreciation. And day 2, we looked at, what did we do day 2? We looked at 2 different, we looked at the style and we delved into it. Day 3, now we took 2 different dances, see how they're together. By the way, Jorge's Post-it Notes app would be kind of cool for that, the one you were talking about before, to put tech in there. But we'll talk about that later. And then now day 4 is coming on. What's going on with day 4?
So making sure on the day 2, 3, you would also want to, so what Tracy was explaining about playing music and giving them the moves, but having them do it to 2 different genres of music. So stomp to 2 different styles. You're developing connections. You're helping them understand, how do I move to hip hop music versus how do I move the same move to African? So they have to change it, and they're starting to understand, oh, the music makes me do this. And it's not just because they know what it is. You don't just play any random music, that the music inspires the movement. So you're helping them develop connections to the music, which is a key part before they go into creative exploration, which is lesson 4.
Nice. All right. So now we're making these outside connections. Solo taxonomy. We're hitting some high stuff over here, Jorge, correct? Making the outside world. So, yeah, I'm enjoying this. So now we connect with the music. We know, okay, we have hip hop. We're going a little higher, showing the personality. African, a little lower. There to the earth. Now, what are we doing after this? What's going on with day 4?
Bring on the butterflies.
I got a quick question. If we can kind of take a step back. So, one of the things in teaching games for understanding is, that transfer within categories. So, you talk about tactical analysis within invasion games, and you can have different kinds of invasion games, but they all have kind of the same basic tactical analysis. So is that true also for dance? So if you're talking about hip hop dance versus the African dance versus the waltz, I mean, I don't know, you can have different genres of dance, but they all kind of would have a similar, something kind of tying them together. Is that true for dance as well?
You know what? It's a question that's been asked a few times, and you can try, because dance is such an open-ended creative thing, and especially now with the world that we live in, where it's all about fusion and everything is mixed into one. It's really hard to distinguish things as, like into 4 categories like TGFU does for us. So instead of doing it by categories and having this, distinct list like we have in games, I prefer to just analyze it based on movements. So, if we look at jumping, hip hop and Bhangra, and they have very similar jumps, as opposed to jazz, where the leaps are, and ballet, where those movements are more similar. So that's how you could organize it, but it would never be, I think, by column in such a distinct way by dance genre, just because every dance style is so different, and how individuals interpret the dance style. I really love the evolution of where dance is going, and I think that something that we can teach our students is that dance is a way of expressing yourself in a place where creativity is limitless. So not to put them in those boxes. So that's just my take on it is, yeah.
All right, so we're all butterflies. We're coming in, we're putting some music on there, and we're saying, how does this music move you?
Yes.
How do you connect to it?
Yes.
Looking within ourselves. How do you fight the fixed mindset on that bad boy?
We also use elements and fundamental movement skills. So we have these foam shapes, we throw them down on the floor, everyone's moving through the space, and the teacher says, okay, everyone, before they even move their bodies, they have to stand there, cross their arms, and they have to say, what are some ideas, movements, images, characters that you think of when I play this music? So I would play classical music. And what do you guys think students would say when I'm playing classical music? What are some words that they would think of?
Violins.
Violins, yeah.
Fairies and princesses.
Very
like that all the time.
slow, ballet, jump. And so then we also have encouraged teachers to have word walls for all of the elements. So under body, they could say like arm, or under energy, they could say melt. So I would pick words like that, and I would put it under, like, on a flip chart or on my whiteboard, and say, okay, so we're playing this song, and here are the words you've created. Then I'm going to hit play again, and I say, now you move, pick one of these movements, and move in that way. Then I would even direct the class by saying, now everyone, I want to see you melt. Show me how you melt. It could be any body part. It could look like anything. You can't get it wrong, but show me how you melt. And then I would go through the list of what they actually show me. Violins. How do you play the violins to this? What's a dance movement that looks like a violin? And so you could be the violin, you could be the thing, you could be with a partner and play the violins together. And so you just kind of, you as the instructor, you just facilitate creativity, but it comes from ideas that they've generated, so that no person is ever feeling like, well, I don't know what to do.
I love that.
And then you put on dubstep. Then you put on the opposite.
Yeah.
And then you put on dubstep. And then they come up with words like robot,
Weird.
transformer, or whatever. Yeah. Yeah.
That's amazing. So now you get your kids who are, who may be struggling a little bit, or who may have that fixed mindset, and then you engage them, because there's no wrong answer. So what's the first thing that comes to your head? And then if they say, I don't know, door.
Yeah.
How are we all going to act like a door?
Exactly.
What's going on with a door? Pretend to slam a door. It's just, it's fantastic. I love that kind of stuff where there is no wrong answer.
Or you put on spy music, like, just as examples for music, like technotronic and spy music, and something from a movie. Usually it's instrumental.
Yeah.
I like Mission Impossible.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a spy movie. Yeah. That's the first thing that pops in my head.
Absolutely.
I love it.
And you can take this activity one step further by having purposeful elements on the floor. So if you really are focusing on fundamental movement skills, you would have like bend, twist, stretch on, like, flipped upside down throughout the space where they don't know what the word is. And then whenever you say, okay, so everyone leap, 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 and then say, now grab the nearest element that you can. So they would grab one, and then they have to create a movement based on that element. that you've gotten on the fundamental movement skill. So it could say melt, it could say, whatever, pop. And then every person in the room now has a different element they have to demonstrate, and they're just playing around with it. And then you say, okay, now everyone walk through the space. So everyone goes back to the common movement that they're doing, and then they walk to a different element, and then they create from that element.
But you always use the music.
Always.
Right? Yeah.
All right, so let's rewind this just a little bit. So we come in, now we're trying to connect to the music. So that's the beginning of the class, correct? Just connecting different types, play different styles of music. What comes to your head, let's connect. Then on the floor, you have all these cards laid out depending on what you want to work on, whether it's locomotor movements, whether it's dance movements, whatever it is, depending on the level of the student. They pick it up, they're working on that, tying that to the music,
yes.
though, correct? Always tying it to the music, which seems to make sense, obviously. All right, I think I'm getting along with this. I like this. I think I can handle this. Jorge, are you still with us here? Are you able to handle this so far?
I think I can handle it. I'm doing all right. I'm learning a lot, and I think I can handle it.
All right.
If there's one thing that we can
small
say
steps
is the importance of always teaching to the music. So one of my biggest pet peeves that I see is I go into classrooms and teachers just have random music in the background. And I know this happens all the time in our PE classes. We're doing fitness circuits and everyone's just moving and there's music in the background that's just like, with the thumping stuff. But when you're doing dance choreography comes from the music. So you're constantly reinforcing through the entire TDFU phases that music inspires movement. Movement comes from the music, and you have to hear the music and always be connected to it. So in the next phases, as we go into students creating their own dances now to be part of a song, what you're going to start seeing is students being so excited that they completely forget about listening to that beat and staying on that rhythm, and they just start creating random movements that they just want to do. And the teacher's role, I think, is really important in dance, is to reinforce that connection to the music at all points. So first is connection to the beat, whatever rhythm is being done, but also connection to the style of the music. So if it's like a rock song, they should be doing, sharper movements, unless the activity is to do the opposite of what the music is. So, we really reinforce, do what the music is telling you to do with the beat and also with the style.
Okay, so do you teach that explicitly, like this type of music should have these types of movements, or is that just the way the kids feel?
I would ask the students. So the same way that we just did that activity, saying, so as we're now moving into lesson 5, where the students are creating a dance, and I would assign small groups. So I have the students work in groups of 3, 4, or 5, and up to 6. And then I would give each group a different element, or 2 or 3 or 4, and they have to create a sequence that is 32 counts long. So I'm giving them that parameter. Then I play the song that they're all going to be creating the dances to. And before I have them do that, I say, now everyone cross your arms and listen to the music. What kind of music is this? What kind of movements does it inspire? What characters? And so that is always set. So I will remind them to say, now as you're creating your dance, it needs to be connected to the beat of the music, but it also has to be inspired by the style. So if it's disco, how are you going to show me a disco dance? If it's rock, how are you going to show me rock movements? And I just ask that as a question, and then their creativity will match that. And my feedback is based on that genre.
Mm-hmm.
Now, how do you get them to connect with the beat? When you get people who say, I'm not feeling it. It's not there. How are you helping them? How do I support those students who are like those trees? They're just standing there. They're not loose. They're not open. Still a little bit of the fixed mindset. Hopefully we got rid of most of that in the first 4 lessons. How am I helping support that?
Trace, you want to take this one?
Well, I think if in this case, in lesson 5, we have the kids moving to the same song. And so hopefully there was buy-in with the song that you chose, but then hopefully you want to choose a song that has some strong beats in it. So, and I think by that lesson, because you would have helped them develop connections to music in like lesson 3, and develop connections with others, and they're comfortable working in a group, and they're happy with the group that they're in. So, and the fact that we're all a community, that we all, it doesn't matter what group we're in, but like all of those things lead up to that. But then the music is really important. So helping them get the beat. Now you can help them by counting it. I count it out, like you're like 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. This is the next beat. Or their chest pump. So you can help you work through it with them so they can connect to the beat if they're struggling. But I would even do it as a whole class, just count it out and show them where the moves are going to be inserted into the song. And Melanie, maybe she can explain better probably the whole idea of the co-created dance performance in the end on lesson 6. Mm-hmm. That happens because the kids don't create moves to the entire song in the way that in the teaching dance for understanding approach, and they don't create a dance that is their song. Everybody is doing the same song with different moves.
Now, is this where just the same 4 steps come in? You talked about earlier with the choreography, not letting it overwhelm the process. You know, sometimes happens with technology. We get so excited that we put all this tech in, and it ends up making something simple much more difficult. Where does that fall in here?
That's where those 4, like those small groups, and receiving 4 elements, or being told that they have to create 4 distinct movements. Each of those movements they have to repeat for 8 counts. So not 8 repetitions, but 8 counts. So it could be like if my mix is high, I might go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And if my segment was wave, it would be like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So my group's responsibility is to create a movement that everyone can do. And that's important, a movement that every person in my group can execute. Mm-hmm. That's to stop those very technically trained dancers from like doing barrel rolls, but it's also like leadership and like negotiation and understanding. So they're working together as a group to create a dance sequence that represents that they understand the 4 concepts that you've assigned to them. So can they show a dance movement that is in high level? Can they show a movement that has a wave as an energy? Can they show a movement that shows a stomp and, or a movement that has a skipping the locomotor pattern to it? And so it's that's what their job is to show those 4 distinct ideas in a 32 count phrase. And so they have 8 counts to show the first thing, 8 counts to show the second thing. And that 4-part sequence, which is 32 counts, then gets inserted into a dance that the whole class is doing together. But no one is performing alone. People perform at the same time. So you could say like, we're all going to dance, and all we're going to do is we're going to walk through the space. We're going to walk for 4 counts, and then we're going to clap our hands. And this is just to kind of get the energy going and everyone's nerves kind of, shake it off. And then when the chorus is coming in, like you said, the teacher needs to know when the chorus is coming in. The teacher would say, okay, now everyone get into your groups. So the group scatters back to their groups and say, now get ready to do groups 1 and 2, show me your dance. And so they're performing at the same time. They're going to show different dances because the group A had, high, wave, whatever those 4 were. And then the other group is going to have completely different elements that they're showing. So they're doing 2 individual dances, which makes them feel very special, and also as a teacher, you can assess their ability to demonstrate those things while the rest of the class is kind of frozen and watches them. And then everyone dances together again. And then the next time the chorus comes in, you have groups 3 and 4 perform their dance. And then the next time the chorus comes in, maybe you have groups 1, 2, 3, and 4 do it all together. And that's your final dance performance. So it's like they're putting a piece into a larger dance performance, and it makes them feel like they're in a flash mob.
Yeah, and I've done this. I was at, Eastern Shape or New Jersey? I forget one, where Mackenzie Michelle Ellis was there. And we did that same exact thing with her, where we did the individual groups, and then we had a big group 1, and we had the 2 lines when the chorus came on doing them. And then when as soon as the chorus stopped, we got back in our groups. So you're right, everyone's moving around, you're engaged, and you mess up and nobody cares.
Exactly.
It was fun. It was a really fun activity. I like this. All right, so that was day 5. We're doing our stuff
6.
Day 5, 6.
Yeah.
And this sounds a little bit like the jigsaw put in there as well, because if everyone's doing their own, and then at the end we're putting them all together, You got a little jigsaw there as well. Is that the end of the unit, or is there more?
So as an educator, again, what was my purpose at the beginning? Why am I doing dance? What's my, like, what are the outcomes that I'm assessing? And so as a teacher, whenever I do dance, we always assess participation. So every single lesson, I'm always giving feedback on the learning goals for the lesson is that you participate. I know that you're going to participate because you're moving your body, you're active, you're, sharing ideas, all those things. But then at the end of the unit, I want you to show me that you can physically, demonstrate the ability to do a skipping a choice of locomotor, non-locomotor patterns. And also that you can demonstrate the energy or the element of dance energy. And it could be any energy. It could be melt, it could be pop, it could be sizzle. And the students can actually choose the ones that they want to demonstrate in their dance. Like you could give the groups the opportunity to choose which elements they want to work on and which fundamental movement skills they want to work on. And so my culminating activity is that dance performance is the students are all dancing. Are they participating? And then I videotape it and I see, can the students in those groups, is this group choice representative of exactly what they were supposed to do for my outcomes? And then I can give them grades based on that specific element itself or fundamental movement skill.
I love it. So the summative is perfect. I'm enjoying how it's a variety of grade level outcomes that you're bringing in, not just the dance standards, because you think, oh, it's dance, I'm just doing dance, but now I have locomotor, I have all kinds of things. During the unit, what am I looking for assessment? How am I judging what's going on? So participation is pretty easy. I mean, it's pretty much a yes or no. Are you doing it? Are you not? I mean, that's just how I run my class. What's going on with other assessments? What should I be looking for?
It's a big question. Depends on what you're.
Yeah, depends. Like safety, maybe effort. For us here in Alberta, cooperation. Underneath cooperation, there's teamwork, leadership, fair play. So there's lots of or communication. It just depends on if you what it is that you want to achieve. So in our curriculum, which is fairly similar to a lot of other curriculums around the world, it's you get to pick and choose, because it's not specific. Well, there are a couple of standards or outcomes that are specific to dance, and one of them is kids have to create a sequence, and they need to be able to do that with others. And so it depends on the grade level too. Like grades 4 and up, they need to create a sequence and do that sequence and dance it with others. So with the younger grades, they need to be able to participate, show effort and safety, and locomotor skills. So it always depends on your standards and what your program outcomes are, standards are.
All right. I think we just got ourselves a crash course on TDFU 101. All right. Any follow-up questions before I ask them where people should go to find them and get the resources?
No, I mean, I just want to say thank you for coming on and doing this. I've learned a lot, and I think it's definitely something that I can do in my class. And I love how Justin was kind of, equating it to the jigsaw method, which I'm very familiar with. Mm-hmm. I love how you kind of give each group, the different elements that they could kind of choose from and kind of demonstrate in their dance. And I love how it all just comes together, in one kind of culminating activity. So, yeah, I learned a bunch, and I definitely feel a lot more comfortable with dance.
Yeah, this is fantastic. Very, very thankful. So we are teachers. We listen to this podcast. Now we're ready to start. I need to find my resources. Melanie, you sell these resources? You have some for free? What's going on?
Yeah.
Where can they find it?
So all of our free resources and all the information on teaching dance for understanding, including a full-length class that you can watch and get songs in there, is at tdfu.net. Are you typing that one out for me? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you. And then if they want some songs, you can go to YouTube and type in dance play. We spelled play with 3 because of the 3 rules. So DANCEPL3Y, all one word. And so there's some free tutorials on there and some videos. Oops. Oh, that was. Whoops. And, don't want me to type it out? 3Y. That was so hard. I've never had anyone spell it like that.
For the 3 rules of
that's
play.
right.
That's why there's a 3.
It's a 3 instead of an A.
Nice.
And,
All right.
3-1.
Yeah, and so if teachers are really interested and they like the style of teaching, what we have found is there's a teacher workshop, because teaching in that way where you're coaching for creativity and you're coaching them to move in a certain way, and all the students are moving around the space not following you, is a little bit of a shock to teachers, kind of, saying, how do I manage the space? So the training, the dance play course teaches teachers how to set that structure and know exactly what the purpose is of each movement that you're coaching and where to stand, so that they can go back to their classes and create their own moves or use the ones that we provide to them. So that's what that training is all about. It's all about the skills. Whereas TDFU is curriculum planning, free resources. We also do workshops on TDFU for boards who want to help basically what we did today in an hour, we do in a day, and we go through every single lesson plan that Tracy and I have been talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Nice. So do you travel all around the world doing this stuff? So a school district or a state can call you up, a state convention, and say, hey, we want to pay you to come on down, and then you will go and train the teachers in full TDFU?
Absolutely. That's exactly what we do. And we've got a team of trainers. Tracy is our #1 go-to, but we also have other trainers, and they all love traveling the world. So we've been to Australia. We've done workshops there, throughout the States, throughout Canada, Ireland, and some in Europe. So we love flying.
Very nice. Very nice. And anything else, Jorge? Anything else we got to add before we wrap this bad boy up?
No, I think that about covers it.
Tracy Lockwood, Melanie Levenberg, we thank you very, very, very much. To be honest, I knew nothing about TDFU other than it was some kind of teaching dance, and I think I have a pretty decent handle. I'm still going to check out the resources, see what's going on there, and we'll be documenting this as I try it out this year, blunders and all. So we appreciate your time. Thank you very much. The phys ed community is very, very, very happy you decided to do this tonight.
Awesome. You guys are great. Thanks so much for hosting.
Thank
All
you.
right.
Can't wait to see the chest pumps in the follow-up there, Justin.
Oh, yeah.
Both of you.
Getting low. Thank you
A little
again.
bit of work. Got a little bit of work on it.
Okay, thanks very much.